Hello and welcome to Movie Ballot. I'm Richard Eve, Heat Ray OK, take your pick. And in this series, we look at films through the lens of the political compass test. It'll be a series of propositions, at the end of which we will try to describe where the film positions itself in relation to politics. This week,
Business is more important than art.
well, judging by the box office, maybe it should have been a little bit more important than it is, but it isn't. Of course, the film wants to find an audience, but it doesn't really seem to have found it yet. Business is a thing, obviously, but more important than anything else, in this case, I don't think so.
Some people are naturally unlucky.
No. Well, some people are in situations where difficulties are more likely to befall them, but I think the spirit of the proposition is more in the vein of the superstitious, so no.
Consenting sexual activity, no matter how exotic, is no business of the state.
No, it isn't.
Institutions should be regulated.
Well, yeah. I mean, this film depicts a world where society and infrastructure have become dilapidated. Law enforcement operates without oversight, and the consequences for individual citizens do not seem to be of particular concern. The state has a principled agenda, but ethics don't seem to figure prominently when it comes to operations. So I think the proposition here is that institutions, although perhaps not individuals, do benefit from regulation.
Authority should always be questioned.
Well, not always. Sometimes, maybe. I mean, in the end, who cares anyway? Long live the new flesh and all that.
Some races are better than others.
Well, maybe. I mean, the future race may be better than the old race at eating plastic, for example. That's not the spirit of the proposition, though, is it? I mean, is the film racist? I'm presuming not.
Unlawful violence is sometimes justified.
Well, that's a good one in this case, because if it is consensual, painless, despite being unlawful mutilation, is it still violence? I don't actually know what the law is regarding, if you like, consensual assault. It's a tricky thing for legislators, hence, I think, the title of the film, in part.
Class divides more than group.
Well, it's hard to tell what the class structure is in this setup. I mean, everybody seems to be loosely part of the same cash poor but asset happy, vaguely post-capitalist, lower middle class type scene. Although there are definitely groups, particularly fringe artists and non-fringe artists. There's bog standard liberals and transhumanists. The most meaningful differences here appear between those groups, and so I would say that is a no to the proposition.
There is no right or wrong, only different.
Well, kind of. I mean, this is, of course, essentially a crazy proposition. But it is a proposition that you can, I guess, be towards, if not perfectly arriving at. And I'd have to say that the film is toward the proposition. It describes new ways of living, new types of physical relationships, and new ways of being an artist. It's very empowering and liberating in that respect. So I'm going to say that, with the above disclaimer, that this film is a yes on the proposition.
More security means less freedom.
It sure does.
People should conform to traditional roles.
No, absolutely not. And transhumanism should be part of the mainstream discourse right now.
Sex outside of marriage is wrong.
So where do we find crimes of the future? Well, we find it here in the region of cooperative anarchy, and just on the cusp of what some circles refer to as queer anarchism. So basically, social revolution as a way to liberate the expression of non-mainstream sexualities. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, then you might enjoy Crimes of the Future. I didn't think it was very good, I'm sad to say. It did, however, make me rethink the idea of the flesh as a vehicle for transcendent consciousness. Maybe you could think about that too at your dinner party. Next week, Movie Ballot Retro, Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Bye!